Malolele, talafalava, and kia ora everybody. This is Pasi here from Zeducation. Today we are going to look at performance management. So before we start, let's define what performance management is. Performance management is an ongoing process whereby a leader works together with team members to plan, monitor, and review their contribution to the team and its goals. Now, in other words, my words, performance management is about helping employees to perform well in their jobs. You do this by continually helping them to plan, monitor, and improve their progress. In addition to that, it's about making sure that the actions, the activities, or the performance overall is actually related to the expected results, or the company goals, or the job itself. Now keep in mind that employees' performance sometimes is great and sometimes it's not so great. And this definitely has an impact on the business and its goals. And so that's why it's important for a leader to understand when an employee's performance goes up or down so they know if they need to intervene and offer more support. Now, for a lot of organizations, many of them will measure performance differently. They might have their own performance management programs specific to that organization or even that job itself. Now, performance can be measured in many different ways. In sales, it can be about achieving financial targets or selling a certain amount of products each week. For a web designer, it could be how many websites they design each month. Or for a truck driver, it could be about how many deliveries they do within a week. Now, again, the point is, every organization is different and their goals are different. Therefore, the expectations for achieving their specific goals will be different compared to other companies. Now, be careful if you have an employee who is not performing really well, not to jump to conclusions and make things worse. And then that employee ends up leaving. Now, that might be a good thing or might be a bad thing. Well, you'd never know unless you ask the right questions. And by asking the right questions, you can identify what exactly is going on that's affecting the employee's performance and preventing them from achieving the expected results. Now, good questions like, do employees know what the expected goals, standards, and policies and consequences are? If not, then the employee may need a little bit more direction and instruction so they understand exactly what performance is expected of them and why. Now, the next question, do employees' knowledge, skills, and capabilities match the job? Right? If not, then you might have to adjust the job. Or you might have to give them more training, upskill them so that they can do the job. The next question is, do employees personally know how they are performing? Now, an employee might not even know that they're doing a bad job unless they receive feedback from yourself or other people. So that could be the issue that's holding them back from performing really well. Now, the next question, does an employee have personal issues such as family or financial stress? And if so, that could be the reason why they're not performing well, because they might be distracted by something that's going on at home or in their personal life. Now, the next question is the employee motivated? Keep in mind that all employees are different and they will be motivated by something, some probably more than money. And so it's about understanding what that is so that you can bring out the best in them. Now, the last question is, does the employee actually feel safe, supported, and comfortable in their environment or in the workplace? If not, then what is it? Why? Why don't they feel that way? Are they being bullied by someone? Do they feel uncomfortable around someone? Right? And that's probably preventing them from working well within a team, and that's affecting the performance. So those are things that you have to take into consideration, right? Performance is something that's a variable, and it can be impacted by a lot of things. So be careful not to be too quick to judge someone as being bad or, terrible. So I guess the most important question anyone could ask when it comes to performance management is, how do you get the best out of people so that they can work well and perform really well? So here are my tips on how you as a leader can help get the best out of your people. And a lot of this is from my own personal experience as a leader, as being a sales manager, marketing manager, and also being a leader within the church that I'm a part of. So one of the things that I've found helpful is understanding people's story. Don't force a story on people. It's about listening and understanding what they are passionate about. What is their vision? Everyone has a unique background. They've made decisions. They've experienced stuff in life that you haven't. And so the more you understand their story, then most likely you are going to discover their passion or their purpose. And so that you can use that to help them with purpose-driven performance. Their story, they're still living it, right? They're still writing their stories, they're living it. Their life is a story. So yeah, they've got stuff that's happened before, but there are things that they're looking forward to. Understand what that is. Understand what their story is. Because for them, that's the bigger picture. And the job is a part of their picture. Now, my next tip is encourage accountability and help them understand the consequences, right? So I like the example of personal trainers. They have clients and these clients might have a lot of access to information online that's free about how to lose weight, eating the right type of food, different types of exercises. They might even have a membership at the gym that they're paying for, but they just can't seem to lose weight or exercise on their own. They can't go over and beyond on their own. And so a personal trainer is there to help hold them accountable, help them to, set goals, make plans, monitor their progress. That's performance management right there. And so, there's that feeling of not wanting to disappoint your personal trainer, that pressure that you have to perform, right? And obviously meet someone's expectation of you. That's accountability. And that can be used to help people perform well. And so, also highlighting the consequences, what happens if that person doesn't do what they're meant to be doing, right? What impact does that have on the leader, on the team, on the overall business? When they see that bigger picture, when they understand the consequences of their actions, their behaviors, right? They're going to be more motivated to perform well because they don't want to let other people down, right? Again, that's a sense of accountability, and, helping them understand the consequences will lift that sense of accountability. My next point is focus on creating leaders, not creating followers, but focus on creating leaders, right? Have that mindset where you want people to do and be better than you, right? That's the mindset that I have. And, I love seeing people succeed and helping them to reach their potential. And so there's this part of me that I just love to share everything that I know. Everything that I know, I just love to teach people. And I get that sense of satisfaction and fulfillment when I see them achieve that thing, right? And it's because I have that creating leaders mindset, not creating followers. And when you create leaders, you create people who have a sense of responsibility to influence positivity, to help those around them, and, to always be their best selves, always strive to be better than who they were. And, having those type of employees are obviously going to perform and help others to perform as well, because that's just what great leaders do. Now, my next tip is embrace failures as learning opportunities. Help create an environment where employees feel okay, like it's okay to make mistakes. Because in reality, some employees are afraid, especially when they're in a culture that makes them feel like they have to protect themselves, protect their jobs. So when something goes wrong, they don't mention anything, right? Even though we know, because, we have some sort of report that tells us about their performance or whatever. So, if you create an environment where people believe that it's okay to make mistakes as long as we learn from it and commit to do better, then they're going to be more transparent. You're going to have more integrity. People are going to own up, but they're going to say, this is what I've learned from it. And sometimes as a leader, it's about framing your question so it sounds more constructive, instead of saying, you did this wrong, or, you shouldn't have done that. Instead of saying like that, you'd say, what can you learn from this? Or if you were to do it again, what would you do differently? Sometimes it's, as a leader, it's about how you frame a question, or how you present feedback to your employees, right? So they can embrace those failures and see it as learning opportunities. Now, my next one is recognize positive performance. Of course, you're not just, intervening every time something goes wrong. Recognize when there is good performance as well. Because when you give positive feedback, you're reinforcing good behavior. You're complimenting a behavior, they're going to feel good about it, and they're most likely going to do that thing again, right? And, praise in public and correct in private. I always believe in that. If you're given correction, do it in private, right? Constructively. If you're going to give them praise, give it publicly. But of course, be mindful of the person. This person might not like being in the spotlight. So you've got to look at their personality and see what they're okay with as well. Okay? My next one is ask questions, don't assume. Ask questions and then listen. If someone is struggling to perform for whatever reason, give them the benefit of the doubt first. Ask questions and try not to make it sound interrogating. Just, hey, I've noticed that, your numbers are quite low this month. I just, wanted to come in and see if you're okay. Is everything all right? What support can I give you? What do you need from me? And then listen. Don't make the mistake that I've seen a lot of leaders do. Right? When an employee is not performing, they begin to gossip in their own mind and make assumptions as to why a person is not performing. They're lazy, right? They lack motivation, they're dishonest. And, I've even seen it grow worse from there, where the leaders start to gossip and tell other people about this employee and start asking other employees questions about why that person is not performing instead of asking the employees themselves. And now the reason why I don't like this is because he is creating a bad culture where people gossip and are now judging this person and may even treat him or her differently, right? So if you recognize that someone is not performing well, please ask them the questions, don't make assumptions, and listen with understanding and compassion. My next one is seek support. And I'm talking about the leader seeking support from the actual employee. There's nothing like that feeling that you get when you feel needed by someone. Your self-worth grows, your confidence, right? Because you feel like you're valued and someone needs you. And, you don't just feel like a number or a person that can be just substituted, but you feel respected, appreciated, valued, and needed by your organizations. And when employees feel that, of course, they're going to be in the right frame of mind and the right environment to be able to perform and be themselves. And finally, my last point is feedback. Feedback is very important. Feedback is about, self-reflection, whether it's the employee looking in the mirror and being honest with themselves and saying what they can improve on, what they're good at, and, continue to make adjustments so they can perform well. Right? And sometimes it's about using other people, like their leaders, as the mirror, to receive feedback on what they can improve on. And so as a leader, it's about creating a culture where people feel safe enough to be able to receive feedback and understand that, it's just to help them succeed. And, my advice around, giving feedback is if you see an employee do something that's wrong or they're not performing well, try and correct it sooner than later. Provide feedback sooner than later so that they can improve. Right? Don't hold them back by being too afraid or hesitant to give feedback because you're afraid they're going to get offended or, not like you as a leader. So just remember that feedback is a good thing, and just make sure that you frame your feedback constructively so it's more like, embracing failures as learning opportunities. We're coming back to that point. So those are my tips on how to get the best out of your people and, to help them perform.